All right, here's day two of our $50 to $500 challenge. And today we are focusing on our bets that are on December 9th, 2025. Y'all know we're doing primarily NBA and we have two games today. I love when we have a low amount of games because we can focus on our research and focus on what we got. So today we have the Miami Heat versus the Orlando Magic, and we have the New York Knicks versus the Toronto Raptors. Now, yesterday we did go two for two. The two overs that we thought were going to go over, they didn't end up going over. The opportunity was there. The shots were not falling. So that is the reason for those two not hitting. And then the unders that we chose to go under actually did go under. Pascal, he had under 25 and a half. And Julius Randle had under 23 and a half. Sorry, 22 and a half. So it all worked out for us. And we are bouncing back today. So we have the Miami Heat versus the Orlando Magic that starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the injury report looks like Drew Smith is a game time decision. Pell Larson is a game time decision. Tyler Hero, game time decision. Davion Mitchell, game time decision. And of course, we know Terry Rozier is out. Now, with Davion Mitchell being a game time decision, if he is out, that is a lot of playmaking that needs to be replaced. Tyler Hero, they've kind of played without him throughout the season, so I know they can figure that out. Pell Larson, he's a good spark that adds, some value to them off the bench, and Drew Smith as well. So with these people being out, the Miami Heat have played well without majority of these people, excluding Davion Mitchell. However, everybody has a role and everybody plays a factor. And for the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner is out, which is huge. I believe he's their primary scorer right now, their leading scorer. Mo Wagner's been out. He should be coming back any day now, December 18th. And Colin Castleton, I really don't know this guy. I actually never seen him on the box score. So this one isn't too much of a difference maker to me. But let's get into the best play for today. So for this one, I'm looking at Paolo. I think this is like a decision, or I don't know what the DTD stands for, but I didn't see him on the injury report. And he just got back. So with Franz Wagner being on the injury report and not playing today, the load is going to go between him and Desmond Bain, and honestly Anthony Black as well. But the problem is, the issue is when Desmond Bain, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner are on the floor, they share a lot of shots. So this line could be iffy. Maybe one night he'll crush the line, and then the next night he's like 16 points, 15 points, 17 points where he's under the line. And that's for the simple fact of that Desmond Bain took 14, 15 shots. Franz Wagner took 10 to 12 shots, and Paolo Banchero didn't get to take the 15 to 20 that he would like to take. So with Franz being out, he has no choice but to take it versus a good Heat team. No matter who's on the floor for the Heat, they're going to make it competitive. So I like this line for for Paolo. It's at 18 and a half on some sports book on Bet365, which is what I'm using. I had to get it at 19 and a half. It might have changed. It might have moved. But if that's the case, people don't think that he is actually capable of 18 and a half. So I don't know why. I'm not sure why. See how they have the projection of 25 and a half points over. And I don't use this for my analysis, but this is just like a secondary source. They have him projected to go 26 points or at least over the 18 and a half. And we go down here and look at the trends. He hasn't hit it in 3 of the last 5 games. Now understand this: limited minutes, limited minutes, limited minutes. He was on injury. So when he came back, he didn't play any limited minutes. Before he left, he was consistently hitting it. He didn't hit it in two out of all those games. He's hit it 10 out of 15, and 3 of those were he was on limited minutes. So with Franz being out and this being his 4th game back, I know his usage is going to be a lot higher. One thing to pay attention to is as well, the two teams that he didn't hit it on were two teams that fall in the top 15 of the NBA rankings in points allowed, meaning that they don't allow too many points. So when you have 3 high volume shooters, it's going to be hard for you to score your 20 points if you have two other people that are trying to get 20 points and against a team that don't average or that don't allow that many points anyway. All right. But if you notice, he did it against Miami already, which is they're in the bottom 10th of scoring allowed. He did it against Chicago, which is the bottom 10th of scoring allowed. He did it against Charlotte versus the bottom 10, Washington, which is the bottom 10, Portland, which is the bottom 10. So he's done it against a lot of bottom 10 teams. He didn't do it against Miami here, but like I said, limited minutes. I'm assuming that he'll have his minutes boosted, especially since Franz is no longer here. All right, as you can see, when Franz got injured, it already went up. His usage already went up. They needed him a little bit more. So I'm going with the over on Paolo Banchero for the Magic here today. That's not the only pick I chose today for this game. I chose two, one for each side. So the next play I have is Norman Powell. Norman Powell is, I don't know what the DTD stands for. I got to figure that out. But Norman Powell's line is set at 21.5 points. That is the same that it is on my Bet365 as well. They have him projected going under. They have him projected at 21 points. But historically, Norman Powell has played phenomenal versus teams that are in the top 10 in defense, and the Orlando Magic are top 10 in defense, right? And the Magic, they play very, very well together. Like I said, it doesn't really matter who's on the floor. But Orlando, they're not no pushover team, especially when they don't have one of their star players. It kind of seems like they play better. So with Franz being out, I believe that Paolo will bring take care of the heavy load, and everybody surrounding him will do their job, and it'll make it a close game, which means that Norman Powell, who is like the leading scorer of this Heat squad, who is the, I don't want to say necessarily captain because you have Bam, but they're going to need him. He's their scorer, he's their bucket, him and Jaime Jaquez Jr. Those are the buckets on the floor, especially with Tyler Herro being questionable. So they're going to need Norman Powell. And his line is only at 21.5, so he only needs 22 points. If we look at this, he's been clearing it almost all year. Now, a lot of this, Tyler Herro wasn't there, which is, a certified bucket. But the teams he didn't hit it against were Sacramento. They're bottom 10 in scoring allowed. Milwaukee's bottom 10 in scoring allowed. Chicago's bottom 10 in scoring allowed. And I think the Knicks are top 10. So out of all these lines, out of the 4 times that he missed it in the last 15 games, 3 of those were against teams who are in top 10 scoring allowed. And I'm assuming these were blowouts. So he didn't necessarily get his minutes properly. Versus the Knicks, they're a top 10 team in defense. I think I watched this game and he only had 19. And I believe, let me see. Oh, I don't have this. I believe he just had a bad game maybe, or somebody else had a really good game. I think Jaime Jaquez just had a really, really good game and took those points away. So it's a possibility. But as you can see, against these other top 10 teams, Cleveland's not there. The Knicks, he crushed the line the first time. The second time, it's also on the back-to-back. Teams don't usually play the same on the back-to-back. Golden State, he beat the line. Philly's not top team. Detroit is. He beat the line. Clippers not. Orlando, he beat the line. So it's very, very, very possible for him to cover this line, and he's done it more times than he has not done it. The times that he has not done it were versus teams who allow a lot of points, who are in blowout games. So I'm rocking with Norman Powell over 22 points here today. In our very next game, we have the Knicks versus the Raptors. And the injury report is Pacome, he's out. Don't know how to say the last name. Deuce McBride is out, which is huge. Karl Anthony Towns game time decision, which is huge. And Landry Shamet, which is out, which is huge. So our guard play is really mainly looking like Jalen Brunson and Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson is more of that scoring guard. So his minutes are definitely going to increase because Miles McBride is out. However, they still have a little guard. What's the guard's name? They have a little white guard. I can't think of his name, but he's pretty tough. He'll probably get some increased minutes today. And Jalen Brunson will probably get a lot of burn, especially with Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, brother. Expect to see Mikal Bridges to step up. OG Anunoby to step up as well. Anunoby. Then you got Jamal Shead, Jameson Battle, and RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is the only one out. These two are game time decisions. RJ Barrett being out is you're missing 18 points a game right here alone. So we're looking at our leading scorer right now, Brandon Ingram, right? Now, for my research, there was limited data on my research because before I chose this pick, I wanted to go over. But after looking at my analytics and my research, it's really smarter to go under. It was very, very close. It was very, very close. Here's why I'm 50-50, and I'm going to leave this one up to you guys. This is just a player to watch. I'm going to leave this up to you guys because a lot of those games, he didn't have RJ Barrett. Sorry, he did have RJ Barrett. And with RJ Barrett being out, see, the Raptors are a team where they distribute the ball a lot. Their top four scorers, they all average, I believe, over 17 points. Ben Ingram is 20, Scotty Barnes is 19, RJ Barrett is 18 or 19, and I believe what's the guard's name? Who used to play for New York. It can't come to me right now. It will. But Isaiah Quickly, all those players average at least 15 or more, which is crazy to me. So they spread the ball a lot, which means that any given night, one of those four players can take over and dominate the game. But with one being missing, you never really know who will take over. But my bet is Brandon Ingram. He's had big games recently. So my heart wants me to lead. My heart wants me to lean this way. Like they need Brandon Ingram for the simple fact of RJ Barrett is gone. As you can see, he covered last game. RJ Barrett was not there last game. However, he's went under 9 in the last 15 games. And he's also playing a top defense in the Knicks. The Knicks are a top 10 points allowed, or are in the top 10 points allowed versus opponents. You know who else is in the top 10 points allowed versus opponents? Not many of these people. Boston is, and he did it once against Boston. All these other teams, Charlotte bottom, Lakers bottom, Portland bottom, Knicks are the top 10, and he didn't hit that line. He had RJ Barrett. You guys know RJ Barrett played in New York, if I'm not mistaken. He had a great game. Charlotte is in the bottom. Pacers is in the bottom. Cleveland is in the middle pack, but they started in the bottom. Nets in the bottom. Washington in the bottom. Philly, middle of the pack. Charlotte bottom. Pacers bottom. Cleveland middle of the pack bottom. And Nets bottom. So he's played a bunch of teams that just allow a lot of points. So a lot of those games have been blowouts. Those games were either blowouts or those games were they allow so many points, but they spread it out the scoring. Scotty Barnes got 20. RJ Barrett had 18. He had 14. He had 22 when he needed 24. Now, this is in the last 15. Let's see if we can go 2025. 16 out of 25 this season. I would love to see the matchups. They're not going to have the matchups. So this one is more so like, I'm not 100% sure. Here are all the odds right here. I'm not 100% sure, so I will put under based off the data I have because he hasn't done it very often versus a team that is in the top 10 other than the last game they played. However, my heart is leaning towards, he's going to do it. He did it already. He did it last game. Very possible that he does it today. But I'm not sure. So I stayed away from that one. But that is definitely something to watch with RJ Barrett being out. And the very last game we are looking at is Jalen Brunson. I told you, they have all these guards out. I didn't even know they had all these guards out when I made this pick last night. I just checked the injury report this morning and seeing Deuce McBride and Landry Shamet out. And Jalen Brunson being your primary guard, and then Jordan Clarkson being your guard off the bench. Deuce McBride played a lot of starting minutes, bro. And he had a lot of like moments, like sparking moments that, allowed Jalen Brunson to not have to drop 30. Like I had been watching Brunson the last 2 weeks because at the beginning of the season, he was cash. And a couple of times I looked at him and I had him on my paper and didn't go with him, and he didn't even end up hitting that line except for one out of the probably the last 3 or 4. And I was wondering why, and that's because a lot of these other players around him, Cat was starting to take over a little bit. OG Anunoby starting to take over, but Deuce McBride was having moments where he was the guard that was getting buckets, and Jalen Brunson could have put on cruise control. You feel me? So with those guards being out, I think it's huge. His line being at 29, that's very, I don't want to say it's high because Jalen Brunson's been dropping 30. I think he dropped 33 in his last game or something like that. But the projection is for him to go under, and I have him going over, honestly. I got him going over 28.5. I think he can score 29 for the simple fact that he plays very well against top defenses. Orlando was one of them. The projection, the line is 28.5. His line was 29.5 and he covered. So the line dropping a point helped us a lot. Utah, they just score a lot of points. They allow points. Boston, he didn't do it. I think that was on a. I don't really have an excuse for that one. Milwaukee, he did it. They score a lot of points. Orlando, he did it, which is the top 10 points allowed. Orlando, he did it twice versus top 10 points allowed. Um, all these other teams were pretty bad. So with the low amount of data I have on this one as well, I'm leaning towards him covering because he's covered in every top 10 match. Out of two out of three top 10 match. Oh no, it was really 2 out of 4 because Toronto's a top 10 team. But this is in the last 15 games. My research came from all the games this season. Um, where he's hit it. A lot of these games are against top 10 opponents. Head to head, he has not hit this line, but this is in the last, few years. But today is a different day. I liked what I saw in my research, so I will lean to the Jalen Brunson over. And my pick of the day, you guys will need to join my Discord for this one, but for right now, I'll get away. I'm going Paolo over 19.5, which is what I got for 20 plus points. I think his line is at 21 now. I would buy the points down if it's like a minus 30 or minus 40. For the simple fact, if it's Paolo Banchero, he can get you 20 points, especially when their leading scorer is out. He averages 21 points. So if he can get him at 20 points with the other person who takes a lot of high volume shots is out, who averages, I believe, 22 points, I believe that this is highly capable. So I like Paolo, then I like Norman Powell's over. Next after that, I like Brunson's over. And then I like Ingram's under. The least, I'm 50-50 on Ingram, but based off of my data, I would take Ingram under. So that's the stats we're going to go with. If you guys have any picks you want to share, drop them in the comments below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned to the journey. And I appreciate y'all boys. I'll catch y'all boys tomorrow.